How is natural gas formed? How is natural gas really produced inside the earth? Well, I don't know exactly for sure, but I will give you some plausible theories as to the real cause of how this phenomenon takes place. I will also put some of the mainstream definitions and mainstream explanations here on this up on the screen. However, I will not bore you to death by reading them. You can read them on your own. You probably are already familiar with them. However, I will put forward an alternative explanation. So you see, the phenomena that we observe in the world around us are real. That's why we have observations, direct observations. From these direct observations, then we can make, certain assumptions. We can make certain inferences. We can make certain conclusions. Different things that our minds allow us to glean or learn from the world around us, be it natural or be it supernatural. So the elites would have you believe that natural gas is some sort of fossil fuel that comes from dead animals through millions of years, that it's a limited resource. It's going to last only, 100 years, 84 years, whatever the figure is. The latest figure, the latest goalpost, which they keep changing as they go, right? So if you live long enough, you'll see that goalpost moving. And that's why, like, the older generations, become a little more skeptical of the usual party line, the usual mainstream BS that they've been feeding us all our lives. And, it's for good reason. So the term here that I love, it's a newly coined term, lingo, jargon, which is called gaslighting, applies perfectly. I love that word because, it describes perfectly the state of things currently, So all the lying, the gaslighting, trying to make you believe that, it's all in your head, you're imagining things. And let me read the actual explanation for gaslighting. So here we have gaslight, to gaslight, a verb. To manipulate someone by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. Okay? This is from the Oxford Languages. So, honestly, the term applies beautifully here, as well as to so many other phenomena around us. So how is natural gas formed? Whatever they're telling you is not true. So that's a big key to the truth right there. Be skeptical from the get-go of whatever the storybooks are telling you, the history books, the textbooks, the newspapers, the mainstream media, the television, all the mass media, even the alternative media. The alternative media are just there, as a second set of defense players to, a secondary net, a third net, a fourth net to grab you along the way so that you can never reach the truth. So that's a big, huge key to the truth right there. Always be skeptical from the beginning of the official narrative, of the official BS. Okay? So if we go based on that, they're telling us, okay, fossil fuels, natural gas. So we start from the position of, okay, it's a lie. Then let me explain, let me investigate and find out what it could really be, how it could really be formed. What is the actual process that makes this natural phenomenon that we observe as natural gas? So it's not that they lie to you about, natural gas exists. How can you not accept it? Of course we accept it. We burn it, we smell it, we see it, we see its effects. So we observe the phenomenon, but the lie is in the explanation. So that's another huge key to the truth right there for you. They lie mostly about the how, and they don't allow you to get to the real why. Okay? So you know the what. You observe the what. You observe, okay, there's gas. Okay, I can burn it. Right, beautiful. Okay, it burns a certain type of flame. Yes, but what is it made of? You don't know. How is it being formed? You don't know. So they give you a bunch of lies, and then we believe them. And so, we're kind of at a loss since the beginning because we don't know what's what. And we can never get to the why if all the facts surrounding the case are wrong. Okay? So this is really important. What's my take on it? I was watching a video the other day about in a different channel with this very smart young guy, and he's talking about carbon torch that he made, and it's he's running electricity through a cathode and an anode, two diodes, and he's running that are made out of carbon. So he's running strong current through them, and when he touches them to each other, it creates a short circuit, and that's what is called a carbon torch. So here I'll show you some images. I'll show you some video that you're probably seeing up right now. I usually try to do the recordings before the fact, just so you know how I'm doing this. And I play it by ear. So,
and we'll see some gas start to be produced. Now you should be able to see if this gas is produced quickly enough. The gasometer is starting to rise, which means that it's filling up with my gas. Did is I closed the valve that leads from the gasometer back into this tank so that there's no way for this gas to backflow into this tank if I happen to get entering this tank that could turn into a gas. If there's only under the surface of the water, is we are creating an environment where the temperature is reaching such an extreme that the carbon that these rods are made of actually becomes reactive enough to use the water. Two gases that are both flammable, and they both travel through this tube and into my gasometer. Okay, so all I'm going to try is feeding some of this gas into this burner, and we'll see how it does. Since this is carbon monoxide, I do not want to start feeding gas into this before I have a pilot light over the opening, or else I'm going to be filling my shot. Not great, though I do have a detector in here just in case. So we'll open up the gasometer, see how it does. All right.
The carbon torch is very indicative of how this phenomenon of the natural gas could possibly be occurring, right? So this is just a theory I'm throwing out at you. Let me know your thoughts on the comments. Questions, suggestions, how you agree, how you disagree, how I may be close to something indicative of the fact, how I may be way off. But you tell me, okay? You decide. I'm just, providing here some evidence, and you guys take a look at it and let me know what you think of it. With a critical mind, with a skeptical mind, with a sharp mind. Okay. a sharp mind is not an enemy of the truth. On the contrary, it's something that's been provided to us, right? So if you're agnostic, if you're a believer, if you're atheist, if you're not, this is I cannot, leave this subject out of it, because it goes to the why. It goes to the fact of the matter of why we are here, who built us, who put us here, who created us. So it's completely important to the subject matter, even if we're talking about a technical subject such as natural gas formation inside the earth or beneath the earth. Okay, so again, it's part of the thing. Like, is it something natural? Is it just happenstance? Is it millions of years? Is it dead dinosaurs and dead plants? Well, maybe not. Maybe that's just a bunch of hooey. And what's really going on is that there is some sort of ELM, electromagnetic energetic system or grid underneath our feet, underneath the soil, that is powering this phenomenon. Okay, and there we get into the sci-fi aspect of it. Is reality stranger than fiction? Okay, so if you're very analytical, you're very drawn usually towards the sci-fi aspect of things, because you're drawn to the curiosity, to the possibilities, to the creative aspect of, like, wow, what could it be? How could this fly? How could this be formed? How could this explode? How could this travel faster? How could this be made stronger? So a lot of my engineering people, a lot of us very analytical thinkers, if we feed our mind so much garbage like we experience from birth, through childhood, through adolescence, through college, and after that in the professional everyday life, you're feeding your system, your mind, garbage in. That your throughput, your output is going to be garbage. That's what it's going to be. Yes, 1 + 1 is going to be equal to 2, but you're not going to be, anything more than a trained monkey. And we've all been there at some point in our lives. So this is as much as a critique of myself as of, everybody, here on earth. So again, I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. This is being done. I'm doing these videos out of, position of, sharing the knowledge, sharing these ideas, and, back and forth with you guys, so that we can actually find some truth. Okay. So we can use these different keys, question them, fine tune them, hone them in, so that we can get closer to the truth, triangulate the pieces on the puzzle board when you're having these people, that are, hell-bent on, messing us up every step of the way, right? So, again, look at the images here. We have the carbon torches. If you're running a lot of electrical current through them, you're touching them with each other, you're creating a short circuit. It's gonna, provide a lot of energy, provide a lot of heat. It's going to pretty much melt anything, boil anything. So he's putting it in the water. He is creating a reaction. And, this guy looks, as smart as anybody, like very high IQ, way above 100, but he can't figure it out even. And that happens to all of us because we've been blinded. Okay. We've been blinded by all these fake figures, fake facts of, fake, explanations. So we cannot see, the reality that's right in front of our eyes, right? So he's putting the arc torch, or, electric arc torch, or however you want to call it, a carbon torch, electric arc torch, as the same as is used in an electric arc furnace. So he's putting it in the water. He's claiming electrolysis. Electrolysis has been disproven time and again, and I don't want to get into it too much because there's other channels that do a great job, actually doing the experiments. And here I'm not so much about filming the experiments, but I'm giving you the evidence, and then you can try them on your own if you want, or look at the evidence on your own and find independent sources that can corroborate, right? So we'll look at the official narratives, and we kind of find the chinks in the armor. Okay, that's also a big key to the truth. If we can find them contradicting themselves, hey, there's the smoking gun. So right here, he's using the electric carbon arc plasma, creating a plasma arc inside the water, and he's claiming electrolysis. But water is not made of H2O. Water is actually water, and I don't want to give you all the explanation on that, but you can research it on your own. Water is water. Water is not H2O. That's a huge subject. I don't want to get sidetracked on it. So you kind of have to know that, but don't take my word for it. Look it up. I might do a small summary video on it if you need to. There's some channels out there that are covering this topic, doing a really great job. What's happening really inside the water is that the cathodes, which are made out of carbon and a little bit of copper, as he so says, are being disintegrated or converted, transformed via the electric arc, the plasma arc, going through them in the short circuit, and that is transforming the carbon of the actual rods into a gas. Okay, so this gas is going to be your natural gas or your methane, your ethanol. What's the composition of the natural gas? We have it right here. So for example, natural gas is going to be mostly methane, 60 to 90% methane, with a little bit of other gases, ethane, propane, etc. Again, you could argue, hey, natural gas is natural gas. And then what you take out of it, you're doing that artificially. You're manufacturing it. You're fabricating it. So, it's really important not to get suckered in, hoodwinked, bamboozled by these lying psychopaths into believing all this nonsense, right? So the thing is, if you find it naturally in nature, that's the way it is. That's your basic composition, your basic, if you want to call it an element, but that word is also a big misnomer. So that's your basic material or compound, if you want to call it. And then from there, you can do, fabrications, artificial changes to it, manufacture it into something else, okay? So we have the natural gas, and then we do transformations upon it, and then we start calling it these things. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we broke something down into different things. It might mean that we took a basic gas, and then we did different things to it, and the end product is an artificial manufactured product. Okay, it's not a naturally occurring thing. Okay, so that's really important too. I don't want to get too sidetracked on this subject, but the main takeaway here, and the main theory I'm proposing is that there is an electrical or an electromagnetic, or if you want to call it energetic system below us, below the earth. I don't know exactly where, but it might be what's powering both volcanoes and also the creation of natural gas, possibly even the creation of petroleum. But I don't want to get into that subject too much right now. So with the natural gas here, I'm going to show you in the map the correlation between the deposits of coal and where we find the natural gas. And there's a huge correlation there. That's a huge coincidence, and it's not a coincidence. So what I'm telling you is that these electric currents, or energetic currents, if you want to call them, and I'm not using the term energy as this sort of ethereal, mumbo jumbo, new age BS. I'm using the term energetic instead of electric because, some purists might be telling me, hey, electric is only, again, artificial, man-made. And in nature, you have to call it something else because, outside of lightning plasma, it's kind of not very easy to find electricity running around. So again, how natural is it? How unnatural or supernatural is it there? So a lot of these things, and then we get into the subject of magic. Like, what? You're out of your mind. What are you saying? We're talking about science here. Well, science has not what we chalk it up to be. It's not what it claims to be. Science is mostly fake explanations, fake trickery, and it's being sold and hoarded out to the highest bidder. We all know that. Lying with statistics, lying with the numbers. It happens every day. Okay? So it truly is science. I don't want to call it science. We're going to call this, phenomenon and explanations that are observable, that are measurable, that are repeatable, and, replicable. So that's it. We're going to call it that. We're not going to call it science because it's a term that has been taken over, and now it's a bunch of tricks. Okay, the balloon's going up. All right, yes, it's going up. But what's the explanation? Is it buoyancy? Is it density? Is it, it's something else? Okay, so let's not get, sidetracked here. Again, the rods here are being spent. He's accepting, and you can do this on your own. You can watch other unrelated videos. So that's another big key to the truth. You do some of your research or most of your research in unrelated subject areas where these people have no vested interest in lying to you. So there you're going to find your truth because, sometimes they can't lie because they're trying to get something done. Okay. But they might be lying to you in the sense of how it's happening. Right. So he's getting a gas out of this experiment, but he's thinking that the gas is coming out of the water. All right. I'm coming forward. I'm giving you my explanation or my position or my opinion, my belief on it. My interpretation is that it's not. Okay, there might be some water vapor. Okay, so there might be water in the gaseous form here inside his cylinder. Yeah, I'll give you that because the water might be boiling, of course. But, afterwards, he's going to get some type of gas that he's burning on an open flame, and that's possibly going to be your methane or your natural gas or some sort of gas that he produced out of this reaction, and that is probably the carbon, or that was probably inside the carbon rods, and it became gas, and now it's also burning in its gaseous state. All right. So if we see the caches, let's go here. All right, then you might be like critical, like well, let's see the map. Let's see the map of the U.S. Let's see how things stack up. Okay, and if you go to this map right here, which I'm showing you on the description. Here we have gas activity around the U.S. and here we go. I mean, you have Texas, you have the U.S., you have all these other states, and in the gray here in the gray, those you can see it from the base, the legend that I put on one of the views here, the coal fields that they have registered, right? That they're telling us, because there could be more that we don't know of. They're not declaring as official, as public information. So there's these coal fields, and then they have the tight oil, the shale gas play, and the sedimentary basin. So the shale gas is going to be your where your gas caches are being found, and it's pretty much overlapping with the carbon. So I'm telling you, there could be an ELM, electromagnetic system, an energetic system downstairs somewhere, somehow, and I'm not going to explain all that because I don't particularly know. So one thing at a time, right? One puzzle piece at a time, one mystery at a time. We have these huge caches of carbon. So if you run electricity through them, you could possibly, burn them up with these, electric carbon arcs, carbon diodes, and you get gas out of them. That's a flammable, burnable gas that could be used to generate energy, to produce work, in this plane of existence where we are, which is called karma loka. Karma meaning work. Okay, so we're talking about work here, and so that's it. This is a short video, to the point, very analytical. You can see the slides on here. You can see how they correlate. They're right on top of each other. Those coal fields underneath the earth, and that gas, and the gas extraction. You can look this map up. You can play around with it. Of course, we're assuming that this information is real. What if it's not, right? Well, but here's the coal mines. They're right on top. So you could possibly, walk up to one of these coal mines and make sure it's a real thing. There's a coal mine there. If you want to go to that level of certainty, right? Which sometimes it's needed. So these are just, we're sharing ideas here. We're kind of developing new lines of thinking so that we question, our assumptions, our cosmological view. Because if there's an ELM energetic system beneath us, how come nobody's told us about it? And why is it there? And how did it get there? And who put it there? And what's powering it? So all these other questions that are just, pretty crazy, if you ask me. And again, I'm telling you, it's very sci-fi. It's very supernatural. It's beyond the natural. There's no such thing as the natural world. That's complete BS. This is, if you want to call it, created world or a supernatural world. And if you're very analytical, very scientific minded, or you're an engineer, or you're just a numbers guy and you want to see the proof guy, and you're like hard facts, I have to see it, I have to taste it, I have to chew it to believe it. Here's a lot of evidence for you to chew on, and do your own homework, do your own investigation on it. Okay, I'm very analytically thinking oriented, and but you also have to let it ride and go to its logical conclusion. Because I keep telling people, a very sharp mind, which is fed truthful information, will always conclude that it was created and made, and the whole world around us. And so, I invite you to do that. If you're still agnostic, atheist, or you're not too much of a believer, and but I believe in something, I'm spiritual, but I don't like religions. That's great. Institutionalized religions are a blight on the world. They've been corrupted, and so you need to get past that, okay, in your own particular way. But do not shy away from reaching the logical conclusions of a sharp mind, okay, and seeing oh my gosh, they've been lying about how natural gas is formed. They've been lying about how volcanoes are formed. And if you see on this other map, there's the active volcanoes in the U.S., which have a green triangle. Funny how they use a triangle. Well, triangle for that fiery mountains, the volcanoes. And it's funny how they're all on the west coast, and they're away from the other map of the coal activity. I wonder if they're hiding something there, or they're not, or or these are what the volcanic activity left in these areas, or if there was none, right? So maybe the active volcanoes, don't like to be close to the coal, or don't like to be close to the gas. But this is not a conclusion that I'm too standing too strong on. I'm just throwing ideas at you, and if you want to get really so this would take more investigation. Look at other countries. Let's see if there's more information on other countries, and where there's more volcanic activity. See if there's any sort of correlation or opposition, possibly, which is what I'm saying here. Possibly some opposition between the electric arc furnaces underneath powering the volcanoes and the coal and gas deposits, which might have been, byproducts of earlier reactions, or they could be, where the reactions might be going, so you might have an active volcano in a zone, and then it's throwing the the gas and the coal and some other things as byproducts to another zone, or not. They might be completely unrelated. Just food for thought. Remember, you have to feed your mind good intel so that you can come out with truthful, wise, truthful conclusions. And so this is really, really important. And if you want to get a little bit sci-fi again, I don't know if you've ever heard of these myths or histories. They're in the Bible. So, and a lot of the mythologies speak of certain dimensional boundaries. So that ELM energetic system might be a dimensional boundary that's beneath us for a reason. So it might be helping power, the world that we see here on top of the Earth's crust. But it might also be acting as a fence. Okay, think on that. It could be protecting us from what's underneath. A different dimension that's possibly could be, quite possibly not a very friendly dimension for us. Think of it. Human beings are very fragile. We're very fragile. Stop breathing for a few seconds, you die. For a few minutes, you die. So, I mean, you could fall and hit your head, break your neck, like in an instant. Okay, so our bodies are just so fragile, and that's that could be worrisome at some point. But you have to embrace it, and you have to live your life to the fullest. And look into it. Let me know your thoughts. See what you make out of it. Again, here's some intel. Here's some evidence. Is the natural gas being created by caches or diodes or cathodes of carbon underneath the earth that are being subjected to high energy currents, high electric currents, thereby decomposing into the gas, possibly. So going back to the methane, this is important with the methane. What's methane made out of? Methane is composed of, if we check our methane composition, it's going to be CH4, okay? But we know that's BS. Again, the chemistry formulas are all wrong. The molecular formulas are all wrong. The atomic formulas are all wrong. It just, what are you talking about? I mean, can't you see, the chair in front of you? Can't you see, the floor beneath you? Yes, these are the phenomena that we observe, that we can see, the hard phenomenon. But it doesn't mean that the formulations they give us are truthful. On the contrary, what I'm telling you is that they're untruthful. They're fake. Okay, so CH4 is telling you that methane is made out of one atom of carbon, 4 atoms of hydrogen. Hydrogen is not made up of atoms, and neither is carbon. They're made up of something else. Atom comes from an Egyptian so-called god, or actually a demon, by the name of Atum. If you don't believe me, look it up. I'll put it on the screen here. Molecules are named after also a false god, a demon called Molech. That's named in the Bible with child sacrifice. So for Pete's sake, they're telling you that, and they're making fun of you in front of your face and in front of my face, because I believe this nonsense for years. So then you ask, well, why is it made out of? All the images they give you of atoms and molecules are CGI. Okay, they're fake Photoshop. Look it up. Look at the images. They're all computer generated graphics. I don't want to get too sidetracked because that's another video. But again, what I'm getting at is that the CH4 formula is incorrect, but it might be hiding. They have a key. They have a coding where they can decode for themselves, so they know what's going on, and then they give us, the fake meaning, right? So it's not the methane is not made up of one atom of carbon, four atoms of hydrogen. We know they don't exist. But so what it's telling you is that this gas methane is possibly composed of carbon and composed of water. Possibly. I'm not going to tell you I'm 100% sure, because I haven't gone to that level of decoding the chemistry. But that's something that you could do. That's something that you could further investigate. Okay, lines of research that you can start from a position of truthfulness and then go to the actual truth. So we know methane's going to have carbon. Where's the carbon coming from? From the rods, from the carbon caches. So in the video, the guy is using the carbon rods to make the plasma arc. That's where it's coming from. And downstairs, beneath the earth, it's going to be coming from the carbon, big carbon deposits, big coal mines, which are made of carbon. And then the electric currents or energetic currents running through them, that's releasing a certain gas, and it might be mixed in with water vapor. Why not? Okay, so and then they might be telling you that it's 4 parts water, maybe 1 part carbon, or might not. It might be 4 parts carbon, 1 part water, and I don't have that particular key to their fakery in the chemistry, but I know that what they're telling me is a lie, and I have to go from there and then start, kind of tiptoeing in the dark and feeling out our way around this dark tunnel to find the light, to find the truth. Okay, so there you go. That's the methane for you. I've had a great time doing this short video. I hope you guys like it. Let me know your thoughts. This is Keys to the Truth. I hope you have a great day, a great evening, great afternoon, and that you start opening your eyes to the possibilities of the supernatural around you, of the creative world around you, of God's power everywhere around you.